Hello, IKECA members. Randy Conforti here. I have the pleasure of meeting with Dane Bundi and Eric Scolari of the Education Committee. And today's topic is going to be a pandemic preparedness program, which is a program they should be implementing or a addition to your existing safety program. Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
All right, Randy.
Eric, how you doing?
Good. Doing good, Randy. Great to see you guys.
You guys, I believe that you're remaining safe and healthy, correct?
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Dane, I'll let you kind of kick off the questions here. What do you got for Eric today?
Well, we'll start off with, so Eric, why should we have or implement a wellness program?
Look, thank you for the question. The wellness program is going to be imperative. I know a number of members have been non-essential. There's a lot of states and a lot of cities opening up now. Some have remained open. It's important to protect your business, protect your employees, protect your customers, that a wellness program is put in place. And Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but soon or attached to our question and answer today, members will have access to the pandemic preparedness program we developed.
Yeah, we'll have the documents uploaded on the website. So I would believe that sometime next week they should be able to access the outline, and we'll let the membership know that it's formatted basically for anybody to download and insert their names and the appropriate directors or whoever needs to administer the program. They could just add, it'll be an easy add to their existing program.
If I might add too, we implemented that this past week here, and it's absolutely amazing, the program. And my insurance company took a look at it yesterday, and they were blown away with it as well. So I think it's a fantastic tool, and I think everyone should really take advantage of it.
And as we have our our conversation today, I think that we got to keep in mind that the membership, we don't know how many places or how many states have actually been completely shut down. We don't know if they've been, if they've been running at 25%, 50% capacity. So we'll try to keep an open mind to who is actually still working, who shut down, who has to retrain their guys coming back to to business once their doors reopen.
Yeah, fantastic. So the preparedness program that'll be available, I think it's important, first off, before we get into any additional questions, is to make sure that the membership understands this is an addition to their existing safety programs they already have in place.
Got it. So Eric, how do these wellness checks work?
We, as many of you know, we're mechanical contractors, so we've been essential the entire time. The wellness checks worked very well. Our employees are doing their wellness checks before they're even coming in to work. And it's provided us with assurance that we don't have any employees that are falling ill or ill, and then bring that into the workplace and essentially bring that into our customers' facilities. We're also the wellness checks are done when we have a service contract or general contract, a construction contract. For example, if we're going to be going to a facility, we're doing a wellness check over the phone with the manager in charge of that facility, not only getting to understand what their procedures and protocols are, but assuring them that we are doing wellness checks on our employees before they're beginning their shifts.
So is this something that the customers you're having fill out too, or just your employees?
We are having our customers fill those out, and what we have found is not relative to IKECA, really, unless somebody has a commercial kitchen in their residence. We're having the customers fill those forms out before we show up. Most all commercial, and as commercial properties are beginning to open, they have their wellness checks for their employees that almost are identical to what we're doing. So they're assuring us that they've done their wellness check, and obviously trying to keep distance from as many people as possible, and we're assuring them that we're doing our wellness checks before we're showing up at their facilities.
Now, what are you doing about filing these things or maintaining them?
There's no directive written from OSHA on filing. So what we want to fall back on is that you want to keep record of the wellness check, especially because if somebody comes in contact with somebody, unfortunately, with the virus, and you're looking at 14-day quarantine or what have you, you want to have a record that these checks were done, and also record of where you were and who they had contact with. So we're advising our employees right now to keep every one of them in order of the day of service all the way throughout the end of the year. And then we will decide, based on a year from this, we implemented this, on how we're going to go from there, because as we all know, we may be dealing with this for quite a long time.
What about you, Randy? What are you doing to file these things? Well,
the question I've got, and I just thought of this, Eric, that when we kind of wrote that outline, it was a very basic, 5 questionnaire. Can anybody add to the questions that are on the policy, or is it just needs to remain as basic as possible?
Great question. I want all the membership to make sure that they're constantly looking at the CDC guidelines and their local health district guidelines, because as we learn about this virus, that could change. Other symptoms could be relevant to that wellness form.
Okay, so this is not concrete or solidified saying, hey, this is how you do it. They can always add, adjust, correct, delete. This is just a very basic format for them to follow.
The basic format CDC put forward early on, and actually the first guidelines they were putting out, this particular format had been added to a little bit, or their direction had been added on as this virus started to work its way into the country and throughout the country.
Okay.
So we decided on our end what we were going to do is, because we didn't want to have the massive stacks of paper, what we do is, it's a little bit extra work, but when my office staff gets the papers back, she scans them and actually attaches them to the job in QuickBooks. So we can just one and click, it's there, it's under the customer. And, so that's something that we're trying over here.
Fantastic. Dane, that's what we do. Because again, when we're talking about limiting surfaces we're touching all the time, I think that's fantastic. And so we're doing the same thing. And when the paperwork is dropped off to be scanned, it's sitting for a period of time and then being scanned and put in. And then you got electronic copy. Anything comes up for that particular location, which crew, who they were around, what time it was, all that makes it very, very important in case one of the employees come in contact with somebody, or down the road 4 or 5 nights later, you get a phone call, hey, you guys were out and cleaned this system 4 nights ago, and one of our employees at the restaurant tested positive, and then, you need to go through the protocols set forth in the pandemic preparedness programs, makes that investigation easier.
Yeah, and it's very easy, quick too. If we just click one button, it pulls it up, and it's if it's time sensitive, it's very quick. So,
fantastic.
So Eric, how do we help our customers manage safety and health during these unprecedented pandemic?
The most important thing is when this all started, when something like this starts, I always feel that there's an opportunity to further the safety and health message, especially with customers, and we all know who, we all have them, of, look, this is what we're doing, but this is only going to work as well as you guys buy into what we're doing, and educate the customer on your pandemic preparedness program, your protocols, your procedures, your training methods, your training documents. And what I've found is a lot of customers have asked for a copy of all of our pandemic program and our protocols and procedures, and then in turn they have developed theirs off of that, and it's just created a more harmonious working relationship with our customers. If there's so much negative with COVID-19, but I'm going to tell you, this is one of the positive things that have come out of this, and especially for the membership of IKEA that have safety programs or used to this way of doing business. It just sets them apart from their competition.
Got it.
Well put.
So how do you audit or ensure the policies are being followed?
This is key, and the directive from at least Nevada OSHA and a lot of directives, you know, federally and local state directives, from federal down to state, you need to really make sure that you are on your state OSHA website, and they should have a COVID-19 resource tab that you open, and there's going to be directives in there for businesses. One of the biggest things out of this is ensuring, not only after you've done the training and you're out working, ensuring you've done an assessment on the program, assessing how your workers are wearing the PPE, maintaining the PPE, keeping social distance. And so you need to designate, it could be a crew leader. I suggest in the state, our state's pretty direct on the directives. We have to have an independent person outside of our crew doing audits as well to ensure that all of our policies and procedures and the directives from the state are being followed. So you want to assign somebody to be doing what I like to call workplace assessments or audits. Got it. Somebody to do that.
So Eric, how do we maintain our PPE due to a shortage?
That has been a problem, and especially for a lot of us essential businesses that have kept going. I'm starting to see the PPE is starting to be more, available in the market. But again, like Randy said, we don't know from state to state, what the conditions are. New York is still suffering a shortage. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions. Always. You don't want to be spraying something on the mask when they say you can't spray anything on the mask to sanitize it. And so don't be afraid. If you're unsure, call the manufacturer and have a conversation with them about how you're sanitizing them. There are some systems out there that use UV light to sanitize masks and Tyvek suits and all those things that I've noticed and seen that our hospitals are using. So not a bad idea to contact the manufacturer. Might have ideas that I didn't even know about. We've been fortunate to not have a shortage here due to the fact that we're a mechanical contractor and had an abundance of masks before this all happened.
That's perfect.
And we were not as fortunate to where supplies were diminished so quick and depleted to where, and as you guys know, that it was basically for the front line or first responders. So we had to improvise locally and reach out to a local person that would stitch masks together. So we were able to buy those in abundance and kind of clean and rotate those out. And this is for us, is that we just started back into the scheduling routine world. So that's new for us. So we're waiting for our order to come in, but we're making do with what we could have manufactured locally.
That kind of goes back to what you said last time, Randy, as well. You can use the IKEA membership as a pipeline as well. If somebody has it and somebody else doesn't, we can certainly help each other out, during these times.
Great point.
Yeah, and one thing that's good too, just to finish off on that question, is not a bad idea to have the cloth masks. I know, a number of T-shirt and hat distributors are making those, and get those locally, get them pretty readily available I'm going to be wearing a mask loading the truck up when nobody's really around, and then have N95 or the one-way mask or the surgical mask for your disposable. Because again, when I'm thinking about IKEA and all that, we have potential for our masks to get wet and have to use a few a night. And also to address this a little bit further, when it comes to when we are auditing and we're making sure the social distancing is there, I want the membership to know that how important the directives are from their state, because Our state has now relaxed on that if it creates a larger safety hazard to not work in a close proximity. Our employees are available. What they can do, if available, wear a face shield, safety glasses, and their mask, and a Tyvek suit. They can work within that social distancing. And this is where job hazard analysis becomes so important. So if you have that and you got a hood or you've got a fan, it's going to take 2 people working, I would advise our membership to, in addition to the pandemic program, have their JHAs built out, and when they're talking and training, that if we're going to be within that 6 foot, if the state allows it, to be in those items, those PPE items that I mentioned.
That makes sense.
When we
Eric,
talk about
access to standard, go ahead.
When we talk about PPE, one of the things that we don't really hear too much about is wearing foot protection, like little booties. Would that be part of the entire PPE program? You don't see people, you'll see the mask, the face shield and gloves, but you never see anything on the foot level. Would that be another suggestion or a requirement?
Mm-hmm. A suggestion. I don't know how all the membership room. I know that our employees would wear rubber boots with a good sole and good traction on. Those can be rinsed. What we do know is that when this virus, much like mold, mildew, and other common problems, when the water hits it and it's rinsed off, it goes down the drain. So I think wearing PPE that can be washed and rinsed and sanitized is a good idea.
So Eric, what about access to sanitary water for hand washing?
I don't see that too much of a problem for the IKECA membership because they're predominantly in restaurants with access to wash basins, restrooms, if you will. One thing that's come up that's been kind of interesting is although we're using public restrooms or bathrooms in restaurants, how clean are those? So we've advised our employees to use those, but take their time and assess, are those being kept clean? And then, there's all kinds of hand towelettes and other ways to sanitize ourselves when we're working remotely, because I do get concerned when we may be working in a restaurant and working on a system where that's not readily accessible. Maybe towelettes may be the answer, or other types of sanitizers.
So Eric, what disinfectants or sanitizers are effective and safe to use around HVAC systems and kitchen exhaust systems?
That's a great question, and one that I just was on a couple of weeks ago with Allied Industries, which is the IAQA. It's a kind of an international association that industrial hygienists belong to. The EPA and the CDC, if you go on those websites, they're going to have a list of chemicals, disinfectants, sanitizers on there. It's called List N, and you want to go on there and double check the sanitizers and disinfectants you're using are on that List N, because we all know that nobody can make a claim that any of these disinfectants or sanitizers actually kill COVID-19. They are, they're 95% sure that because these disinfectants and sanitizers listed killed COVID-2, or effective with COVID-2 and effective with SARS, that they're going to be effective with COVID-19. So that list is relevant. And a lot of states, OSHA sites, when the membership's looking for their directives, can go on there. They probably have a link to those sanitizers and disinfectants.
Got it.
I've got a question. Now that we've taken every step possible to prepare our workers with all the PPE and prepare them to go out and service our customers, what do we do when we are either going to a facility that is known to have COVID-19? what do we do once we're getting to that facilities?
You handed me the hardest question of the day, right, Randy? So I'm gonna answer this because I've got experience with this. We had a job site where another trade employee tested positive. We had to do an investigation with the contractor to find out where this employee was, where they were working. Thankfully, it was a large project, so where this person was pretty limited. So, and then you have to, on your pandemic preparedness program, deem that as a low, medium, or high risk. And one of our employees was within probably 10 foot of this individual for a limited amount of time. We erred on the side of caution and quarantined that individual for 14 days because this individual's does controls for our company, and is at a number of facilities throughout a week. And so we didn't want to then something happen and then explain to 7 different facilities or 10 different facilities, hey, one of our employees was there, we erred on the side of caution. And also to answer your question, if there have been known cases at that restaurant, you need to really understand, are there any current cases? What's been done to clean, sanitize, and disinfect that establishment? And have there been any cases since? You're really going to need to have a really deep conversation with that particular company. There's a lot of really bad things going on with this. As anytime there's a pandemic, a hurricane, a flood, everybody comes out with a new, we just spray this on here and it's fine. Well, what I want the membership to really understand is, even though you're spraying or you're disinfecting or you're wiping something, you can go on the CDC guidelines and understand it needs to be wiped, it needs to be cleaned, and then it needs to be disinfected or sanitized. So I would really ask that, get a deep conversation with that company, and then make a business decision based on the answers you get from them, whether you want to put your employees in that situation, which could potentially open you up to some exposure.
And what we have got to keep in mind is that most of us, it is probably very common when we think of, when we go into a kitchen, it's gonna be in a restaurant. And what we have found out very quickly here is that all the nursing homes and healthcare systems that we go into that we don't think about, okay, we're just there for the kitchen, but there has become a very common or a hot spot of confirmed cases, whether it be in a residence individual or in a staff. So they have to, when they're scheduling their work, they should certainly ask those questions of, are there any cases? How are they quarantined? How are our guys going to be exposed if they're going to be, is that area completely separate from the kitchen? And everybody has to be prepared. So obviously, when we talk about preparedness, it's like, okay, well, what did we do from the time that they left the shop, got all their equipment? What do they do once they arrive to that facility? They have to know all those directives there.
That would be the perfect time for a JHA. And much like when in this industry, when we deal with mold, mildew, or bacteria, before we're going to go in and remediate or clean that system, and let's say there was mold, mildew, or bacteria in a wall or in a crawl space or whatever, the remediation company, which a lot of remediation companies are doing this sanitizing, these wipe downs and the disinfecting of these buildings, they will give a clearance report. But we all know one person walks in there after that's all been done and has COVID-19, that area is contaminated again.
And for those who haven't heard of a JHA, what is that?
That's a job hazard analysis. And much like a toolbox talk, job hazard analysis really is the boilerplate for your task, your duties that you're going to perform that evening in a step-by-step process. And what OSHA's really liking to see is that the COVID-19 is addressed in a JHA, so it's reviewed nightly or daily, and the employees are following those procedures. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to hear that any IKECA member got COVID-19 and was ill and is deceased because of it. I worry about that. When this all started, my heart dropped because a ton of the restaurant industry was shut down. A lot of it, and my heart dropped for that. And then now that things are getting going, I'm just hoping that I know the IKECA membership and they do the right things to protect not only themselves but their employees and their customers. It means a lot to me because I do worry about that.
Absolutely.
That's heartfelt, Eric. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Eric, is there anything different we should be doing with material storage during these times?
Yeah, when you get material in, what we've done, and think it's very effective. You don't know where this stuff's coming from. It's coming on, a semi and a tractor trailer and a 40-foot van. Create in your materials landing area, your shop or whatever, an unsanitary area, and then create sanitary areas. Let the product sit, for 48 hours, and then that's what we're doing. And then we're wiping them down and we're disinfecting and sanitizing those boxes or those drums. I just think that's good business practice because you don't want something accidentally to get in there and touching it. And again, CDC has some guidelines on that, and you can look through those things because nobody's fully sure of how long does it live on cardboard. We know that it lives on metal surfaces for quite a while. We know it doesn't live very long on copper, but that's it's ever changing. This is a very fluid situation, and so I'll probably say this way too much answering you guys' questions today, but get on that CDC, get on your local county website, health website, and understand what's going on a daily basis.
If there's a procedure, like we're going to wipe things down, so we've got hard surfaces and we got disinfectants, is there an advantage or a disadvantage to spraying or fogging versus wiping things down?
We have to keep in mind I would wipe and make that the main process, Randy, because when we're using disinfectants or sanitizers, and we all know this, if we're going to be using them around the kitchen environment, they need to be food grade, right? So wiping, so it's got time for the disinfectant, the sanitizer to be on that tool, on that equipment. A lot of my guys are wiping all their tools down and hoses and bagging them up in 6 mil bags. So they're staying overnight wrapped up. And again, being sensitive to cost, I know what I'm talking about today is going to add a lot of time on the job. But it's just good business practice. So their tools are bagged up nightly, and then unbagged, wiped again, and then we're starting our shift and we're getting and the biggest thing too is let's not have visqueen, our 6 mil plastic just rolling around on the back of the van, or trailer or whatever. Make sure you're keeping things wrapped up and as clean as possible, so you don't have to spend 3 hours sanitizing things because you let everything just sit out and roll around the truck all night long.
So I know that we talked about preparing them before they leave and then arriving at the facility and now executing the task at hand. And now that they're collecting all their equipment and tools and waste, now they're going to return to the shop. Now what do you do?
Great question. So when our employees return, I really want to limit how many places they're going. I understand that, there's some of the IKECA members going to be doing 2 restaurants a night. They're going to have to make a decision if that's but we have limited it to 1 project a night or 1 visit. So we're not going to 2 and 3 places a night. When they come back to the shop, they need to be, they should be wearing a suit. That suit should be bagged up. But they should be washing their hands, cleaning themselves as best as possible. And I would limit, access to the shop. Maybe have an area outside where they can turn in their paperwork, or they're emailing it into the company and to whoever's in charge of that, and limit as many people coming and going out of your facility as possible, because one person gets it in your company and that's lax. That could be catastrophic for one of the IKECA members. Of the one person gets it, then 4, then 5, then all of a sudden the entire company's got it. That could be catastrophic financially.
So I know that, again, in the documentation that we put together that's available to the IKECA members, that there's a basic checklist that we provided them. There is a training piece of, or an educational form that kind of just says, okay, here are the topics, here are the things that you need to implement for preparedness. We haven't talked about what happens if you are a company that has to cross state lines. So now you're going to, you're going out of a jurisdiction. So any suggestions or recommendations for crossing state lines, or again, are they going to the CDC website for that information?
Yeah, very good question. And, 25 miles from where I sit right now is the California state line. So you're going into that state to work. You need to understand what the state directives are. For like California, for example, it'd be Cal OSHA. So you understand what those directives are. And you might have to adjust your preparedness program, for that state. And every state's operating a little bit differently. California is essentially still closed and will be slowly opening in June. So then that's when you start to see some of the directives next week of what's going to be required.
Okay. And because of being conscious of time, I know that we've sat here for over 20 minutes now I know that we all can sit and we could probably talk all day on safety and, just things that are going to happen in the field, whether, it applies to everybody or, just a certain individual. Before we wrap it up, is there any one last thing that we can offer IKECA members as just being prepared?
Yeah, I think the main thing, Randy, is that, just on May 19th, OSHA came out with the directive and guidance of recordable cases. I want to direct people to understand to the OSHA website, to understand, how they are enforcing and what are some of the enforcement response if there's a confirmed case in a workplace. Very important that the membership stays on top of that. And again, this is very fluid. And if the membership is implementing the policies, the pandemic preparedness program policies and procedures that we've discussed today, that's going to come into play if, heaven forbid, they have a confirmed case in their workplace. Because it's going to be, well, was that virus contracted in the workplace or outside of the workplace? And that's the elephant question. So I want the membership to make sure that they are staying in tune with federal OSHA on this and how a COVID-19 case could be recordable or not.
Eric, as always, thanks for your time. You know that the association is a much healthier and a much safer place because of you, and for us as a whole, the passion that we have for the membership and making sure that they get the information that they need. They may not be thinking about it every day, but I know with the pandemic, it's an ever-changing world, and we have to stay, in tune on a daily basis and make the needed adjustments and corrections moving forward. Especially now that I believe that within the next week, the entire country should be opening back up.
Yeah, I thank you two guys for asking me to come on and talk about this, because at the end of the day, I care about all of IKECA membership, and And we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We can learn from one another. And the beautiful thing about organizations like IKECA and members is we can do this together. And I want to leave you guys with, if any of the membership sees this video and has additional questions, please feel free to email me your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them, whether in an email format, or what I like to do is I like to talk, as everybody in the membership knows, or I'll call you. And we'll talk about it, but that's what I'm here for. God bless all you guys, and stay safe, and God bless the membership.
Outstanding.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate your time.
And
You bet.
The last thing I'll leave with is that from the Education Committee, we know that we want to continue to offer topics of discussion, anything that we can offer to help anybody's business become more efficient or safer, or anything that they can implement that better improves their procedures and policies that they have now. And I believe that the next topic that we'll offer the membership would be pre-treating wastewater, and anything else that they may have suggestions on. They could always reach out to the association. Dane, any parting words?
That's it. I'm really excited to be back in the saddle with you guys and putting out some good content. Stay tuned, guys. Randy and I have a lot of stuff coming your way soon.
That's not just me and you. It's the Education Committee as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's, gentlemen, you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.